Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start a new series called Cell and Tissue. So, the first class we will understand what are tissue and what is tissue and what are the different type of tissues. Okay, in plants. So, a tissue is formed when a group of cells characterized by similar structure and or coordinated function work together to accomplish special tasks or functions within an organism. What are the important terms here? Basically, this tissue is a group of cells characterized by similar structure and or it can be or cannot be or coordinated function. Similar structure and or coordinated function work together to accomplish a specific task or function within an organism is called as a tissue. So tissue is basically a group of cells with similar structure and or function which are performing a specific task. Okay. Now coming to the type of tissue in plant, there are the tissue mainly divided in two category. One is your permanent tissue, another is your meristematic tissue. Okay, so what is meristematic, what is permanent, we will describe in the I will describe in the next slide. But let's take a hint of this. So one is permanent tissue, another is meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue are those which are not having any defined work. Not having a defined work. Okay. But permanent tissue, they are having a defined work. Okay. So meristematic tissue can be of three type: apical, intercalary, lateral. This category is on the basis of their position in the plant. Okay. And permanent tissue can be of two type. One is simple permanent tissue, another is your complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissue are made up of single type of cells, one type of cells. That's why they call it as simple permanent. But complex, they are having different type of cells. That's why it is called as complex. Okay. So simple permanent tissue can be divided in three category. One is parenchyma, another is collenchyma, third is sclerenchyma. And complex can be of two type. One is xylem, another is phloem. So xylem tissue is having, as I told, they are having different type of cells. There are four type of cells in in xylem tissue. One is trachid, another is vessel, then xylem parenchyma, xylem fiber. Similarly, phloem is having also four type of cells. One is tube element, another is companion cell, third is your phloem parenchyma, and fourth is your phloem fiber. Now coming to the detail of meristematic and permanent tissues. So my meristematic tissue, let's understand the characteristics and their type. Type can be different type. Okay. Characteristics of meristematic tissue. Number one is the cell identity. The cell of meristematic tissues are commonly referred to as meristems. Okay. Apical meristem, root, lateral meristem, intercalary meristem, like that. Okay. Then these meristematic tissues are having self-renewal ability, where one cell remains identical to the parent cell, and the other differentiated to form specialized structure. Okay, then in these cells vacuole are very small. This is very important. The characteristics of cell, here these cells are having small vacuole. Then meristematic tissue is composed of living cell with very thin cell wall. This is also an important point. Then the density of these cells are very high, because these are the structure is very small, but they are very rapidly dividing. That means they will not develop and they will start dividing themselves. Okay, so meristematic tissue by a role or play a role in healing the wounds in injured plants. The cells are young and immature, and they don't store any food material. Okay, because as I told, they are rapidly dividing, they will quickly divide themselves. That's why they will not store any food material. Storage of food material started when they become permanent cell. Okay, then these are metabolically very high, or rich, or you can say they show very high metabolic activity. As I told, they are rapidly dividing, so that's why the metabolic process is too fast. Okay, metabolic process is too fast. Okay, then a nucleus poses cell possesses single large and prominent nucleus. Okay, so these are the some of the character of meristematic cells. Now on the basis of their origin, they can be divided in three category. One is promeristem, another is primary meristem, and third is your secondary meristem. Promeristem, as the name suggests, it is a primitive or earlier meristem. That is, earliest and youngest meristem tissue is called as your promeristem, and it originates from the embryo directly, and it give rise to primary meristem. So the stage from where meristem tissue is developing is called as basically the promeristem, and it is directly developed from embryo. Okay, and it is this promeristem is the mother of this primary meristem. Now primary meristem arises from promeristem. This is actively dividing cells and located below the promeristem and forms permanent tissue. Third is your secondary meristem. It originates from primary meristem and give rise to secondary permanent tissue. So basically what is happening, from embryo, promeristem is formed. Promeristem is forming your primary meristem, and primary meristem is forming secondary meristem, and secondary meristem is forming your permanent tissue. Okay, this way the tissue is formed. Now, based on position, the meristem can be divided in three types. One is apical, another is intercalary, third is your lateral. Apical is found in the tip of the root and shoot, contributing the plant height, or you can say plant length. Okay, divided into promeristem and meristematic zone. So, if we draw a structure of a plant roughly, this is the ground level, this is root, and this is the shoot. Okay, so this part and this tip part is having apical meristem. This part is called as shoot apical meristem, and this part is called as root apical meristem. Okay, Ram and Sam. Then intercalary meristem is located in leaves and internodes at intercalary position, also adds length to internodes and parts of apical meristem. So this part, the leaf where it is attached to the main stem or branch, this position is for your intercalary meristem. Okay. Third is your lateral meristem, located on the lateral side of the stem or roots, increases the plant thickness and includes vascular cambium or cambium. So when the stem is growing in horizontal way, we call it as this meristem. The meristem responsible for such growth is called as basically the lateral lateral meristem. Okay, so such meristem is called as your lateral meristem. Based on the function, that the meristem can also be divided in three parts, three types: the proderm, procambium, and ground meristem. So proderm is the outermost tissue forming the epidermis. So when just like our skin in human body, plant is also having a layer of cell out in the outer side. That cells are, or that tissue is called basically epidermis, or epidermal cells, we can say. It is the outermost tissue forming the epidermis. So protoderm is basically forming your epidermis. Okay. It provides protection against mechanical shock. Then procambium is the innermost tissue giving rise to xylem and phloem. So the conducting tissues are synthesized from your procambium and facilitates transport of water and nutrients. Then ground meristem is the cells with large and thick wall, and forms cortex and pericycle and pith. Now what are these cells, we will understand later. So just you can understand that this is responsible for the cells in a stem. If we see, there are a number of cortical cells and pericycle cells, and also pith cells are present. So those are formed through your ground meristem, and these are basically responsible for your thickness of the plant, or width of the plant. Okay. Then meristem tissue is typically located in apices of your root system and shoot system, and remains in the continuous state of division. Okay, so these are basically rapidly dividing cells. Now coming to your permanent tissue. Permanent tissue, as I told, this can be simple permanent tissue, another is your complex permanent tissue. Simple, the name is simple because these are made up of one type of or single type of cells, and complex, they are having different type of cells, but still they are forming one tissue. Okay, so permanent tissue in plants have specialized function providing elasticity, flexibility, strength to the plant. They can be categorized into simple permanent tissue, such as and say this simple permanent tissue can be of three type, that is sclerenchyma, collenchyma, and parenchyma. And complex permanent tissue can be of two type, one is xylem, another is phloem. Both are conducting tissue. Okay. Now coming to the simple permanent tissue one by one. First is the parenchyma tissue. Parenchyma tissues are alive, polygonal cells with a large central vacuole and intercellular spaces. It constitutes ground tissue and pith. Collenchyma contain chloroplasts and for photosynthesis. Erenchyma with large air void and air aids in buoyancy. And some parenchymatous cells serve as a storage chamber for starch in vegetables and fruits. So basically, parenchyma tissue is forming your ground tissue and pith, which is basically responsible for um, the width of the plant. Okay, and this in some conditions it is forming your erenchyma. Erenchyma is basically pocket of or space of tissue where air is stored or air is passed, so that plant can be buoyant in the water level, in such water level, in flood conditions or in flood stress, under flood stress. In some plants erenchyma are formed, such as your rice. In rice plant erenchyma is there. Okay, then coming to the collenchyma, these are elongated living cells with minute intercellular gaps and cell walls made up of pectin and cellulose, found in marginal region of leaves, stems, providing flexibility and mechanical support. So this collenchyma is responsible for your flexibility, and marginal areas are occupied with this collenchyma tissue. Now coming to the sclerenchyma, these are dead cells basically. Parenchyma and collenchyma are alive or living cells, but sclerenchyma is a dead cells with lignin deposits in their cell wall, and no intercellular gaps are there. These are packed one, found in seed covers, coverings, nuts around the vascular tissue in stem and leaf vein, and provide strength to the plants. So seed coat, then nuts and vascular tissues in stem and leaf veins. These are forming your through by your sclerenchyma tissue. Now coming to the complex permanent tissue. As I told, there are two type of complex permanent. One is xylem, another is phloem. So let's understand the type of tissues present in the cell. Then we will come to this point. Yes. So the cells are having your four type of cells, as I told before. These are having xylem is having tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fiber. In detail, we will understand in another class. And what are the functions of these different type of cells we will go for. Then the phloem is having your septube elements, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fiber. So this is forming your phloem tissue. Okay. Now coming to the characteristics of these complex tissues. One is xylem. It facilitates transport, and mainly the transport of your water and dissolved substances such as your minerals throughout the plant, and sometimes your growth regulators also. Growth regulators which are synthesized in the root. Okay, so it comprises vessels, tracheids, and xylem fiber and xylem parenchyma. Xylem fibers and tracheids contain lignin, which are providing the strength or structural support to the plant. Xylem is a vital component in the plant's vascular system, playing key role in transporting your mineral and water from roots to the other part of the plant. It possesses two distinct chambers, tracheids and vessels, dedicated to transportation of your mineral and water. The xylem term is coming from Greek word xylon, which means wood. Okay, coming to the next issue, that is the phloem. Phloem aids in the transportation of food throughout the plant. So it consists of phloem fiber, sieve tube, phloem parenchyma, and companion cells. Phloem holds equal importance to xylem tissue in the plant's vascular system. The main function of phloem tissue is to transport nutrient and food from the leaves to the other plant parts, and the phloem word is coming from Greek word phlois, which means bark. Okay, so this phlois is meaning bark and xylon meaning wood. And if we see the transport system, the xylem is taking food and mineral from down to up, but the phloem is transporting food from leaf to the other part of the plant. Okay, so just somehow it is transporting from up to down, and xylem it is transporting from bottom to top. Okay, now what is the difference between xylem and phloem? If we see the shape of the tissue, these are tubular shaped structure with the absence of cross walls, and this tissue resembles the shape of a star. Tubular phloem also is tubular shaped elongated structure with the presence of walls within thin sieve tubes. Okay, then location, this is present in the center of the vascular bundle, and this is present in the outsider or border of the vascular bundle. Okay, and fibers are smaller here, but in case of phloem it is very large. And movement, if we see, it is unidirectional from root to shoot, but it can be bidirectional from leaf to upper part and lower part both. Okay, so features consist of tracheids, vessel elements, xylem parenchyma, and xylem sclerenchyma, xylem fiber, and it consists of companion cells, sieve elements, bast fibers, phloem fibers, intermediary cells, and phloem parenchyma. So transport, if we see, it can transport mineral nutrient from the soil, water molecule from root to the aerial part of the plant. It basically transport the photosynthetes or food material and other nutrients including sugar, amino acids from leaf to the storage organ and growing parts of the plant. The total amount of xylem tissue is more as compared to your phloem. मतलब number of xylem tissue is higher in a plant as compared to the number of phloem tissue, whereas phloem tissue is lesser than the xylem tissue, vice versa. Okay, so this is about your tissue in plants. If we like this or understood this class, just like the video and share with the with your friends who need it. Thank you so much.